In this video, we're going to look at the defensive stretch that killed the Clippers in Game 5. Alright, so we're going to start here, late in the third quarter, about a minute to go. This is where the problems for the Clippers start. Montrezl Harrell has his arms out to try to corral Jamal Murray towards the sideline, and he does. However, Paul Millsap's going to slice right in and set a little rub screen. Montrezl Harrell's job is to let Patrick Beverley get back to level with the ball handler, and he does. However, Harrell's late to react on the Paul Millsap slip. Marcus Morris Sr. has to be the one to contest. It's not a bad contest, but it's still a good look, and Paul Millsap knocks it down. This is the final play of the third quarter for the Denver Nuggets. The Clippers are in a problem here. They're cross-matched with Montrezl Harrell guarding Jamal Murray, and that's not a matchup the Clippers like, nor is it one they should be able to accept and live with. So in doing so, they're going to have Patrick Beverley slide up the wing, and he's going to try to present a double team, but Jamal Murray's going to pass out of this, and smartly, Monty Morris cuts across right to the nail. And in doing so, as the pass comes to Porter, we can actually see Morris, and Kawhi Leonard has to dig down on him, which means he's late to rotate to Paul Millsap, and incorrectly just leaves his feet. He doesn't need to leave his feet, which gets the Clippers into problems. Paul Millsap tries a floater, Patrick Beverley tries to take a charge, but it's correctly ruled a block, and Paul Millsap gets free throws. Alright, Jokic Murray pick and roll. This is Denver's bread and butter. They like this. They just like it a lot. Almost curse, sorry. Paul George is going to get over the top of the screen, and in doing so, Montrezl Harrell's in drop coverage, and he needs to just corral Murray and then get back to Jokic. However, he's late. Montrezl Harrell rotates, he gets sagged way too far off, and it's a wide open, uncontested jumper for Jokic, and he buries it. This is a set Denver loves to run a lot of late in games. It's called a wedge roll, and in doing so, Gary Harris screens Montrezl Harrell, which is Jokic's man. Then Jokic sets a screen against Paul George, who is Murray's man. Harrell's sagged too far back into the paint, and because of this, Murray's able to hop step into a three. Now, Harrell does give a good contest, and Murray does bank it in, which is kind of lucky, but you have to be sucked up higher to defend this better. Here's a transition sequence that kind of breaks the Clippers back. We can actually see Lou Williams pointing, but then we see Paul George pointing. It's kind of unclear like what he's really pointing at. He obviously wants someone to get picked up, but he does it again. It looks like he's pointing to Montrezl Harrell like, hey, go out to Nikola Jokic, we got this. Now, Jamal Murray posts up against Lou Williams, which does create some problems, and Paul George needs to double on this, but he's late. And by the time he does it, Kawhi Leonard's pointing for Harrell to get onto Jokic. Jokic is open, but no one goes out, so Kawhi Leonard does it himself. Jokic gets a clean look, and he gives Denver their first lead since about 5 minutes to go in Game 3. There's really nothing that Montrezl Harrell could do better on this possession. It's Jokic posted up against Harrell. There is a size and height mismatch, and that comes into play. Jokic triple threats, right into a jumper. Harrell gives a decent contest, but his height, or lack thereof, makes it harder for him to contest this, and it's buried by Jokic. Probably wondering why I'm showing an offensive play here for talking defense, because this actually begins on the offensive end when we talk defensively. Patrick Beverley is pointing to Montrezl Harrell to get the ball to Kawhi Leonard. That doesn't happen. As Harrell tries to size up against Jokic, he goes into a spin move. However, I want you just to look at all the Denver defenders. They're going to clamp down on this, and they swarm him. 3 defenders, and they get a block. And this sends Denver running the other way. And the reason is because Montrezl Harrell is still on the ground, which isn't his fault, theoretically, like he got knocked down, it happens. But now Denver's off in transition, and they're running, and this is what the Clippers do not want to let happen. That pass by Murray to Jokic kicks it off. Harris is going to swing it to Jamal Murray, and Patrick Beverley is going to run out, but Patrick Beverley leaves his feet, and you should absolutely not do this. Jamal Murray gets an open 3, and he knocks it down to put them up 6. The Clippers just defensively struggled for about an 8-minute stretch, and that cannot happen.